I'll be having very interesting guests who have personal stories to tell to the world. Welcome to MNB World Talk Show. Hello there, welcome to a brand new MNB World Talk Show. I'm your host Bilgute Tumundimril, and you guys can call me Beck from now on. And today's guest for sure is in love with Mongolia because he has lived and doing business in Mongolia for last 10 years and he hasn't left yet. So let's welcome Mr. Garrett Wilson, who loves Mongolia.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thanks for having me.
All right, have a seat.
Sure.
So let's just start. You have come to Mongolia 10 years ago. By the time you were doing volunteer work at the church, right?
Yeah, it was actually 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
This is my second time coming. 20 years ago I came. I was 19 years old. I was a humanitarian service volunteer and a missionary for the charitable arm of the church. And so I came here as a youth, took a couple years off of college, and that became a very turning point, a defining point of my life during those formative years.
So by then, when you were coming, how much did you know about Mongolia?
Nothing.
It's 20 years.
It was nothing. I can recall back then.
Did you do any study at least? I mean, before you came, it's Mongolia, you on the other side of the earth.
Well, I didn't choose. I was assigned to come. We just sent our application, say I want to be a volunteer, and then they assign us. And so I was assigned to come here. Of course, after I got my assignment, and I did a little bit of research, but even back then, it was in the early ages of the internet, and it wasn't very common. So it was more of opening up an encyclopedia to learn a little bit about the country.
Well, in a way, you came to like 2 million people, nomad people, who lived only not more than 50 years of urban life. Was it difficult to get along?
There were some surprising things, some things that obviously
I
wasn't used
those
to.
Surprising things.
Well, a pleasant surprise. Not long after I came here, I was taken to prominent places such as the top of the Zeisen Memorial Monument, and at that time, it was the juxtaposition of you could look to the north and see the expanse of the city, which at that time was half the size that it is now, but it's impressive. You look to the south, and at that time, it was just the Balked Mountain. So nature, the trees, and it was a grassy, open valley. Now it's been filled with development.
Oh, yeah.
But I liked that juxtaposition of being, a city that's nestled in a valley, close to nature, and nature will always be a part of, I think, the heart of a Mongolian. Where I'm from, Salt Lake City, Utah, it's blessed with beautiful nature, being real close to mountains and ski resorts and lakes and rivers, and so.
And those red rocks.
Down in the south, not too different from the geography of Mongolia. Towards the south in the Gobi, you have a desert. In Utah, it's the same thing. You go towards the south Utah, it's desert, red rock, a beautiful country, but still it's hot and not a lot of vegetation. In the north, it's kind of like Mongolia. You go up to the north, Hufskulth is a thing in that area, and beautiful hills, mountains, trees, and summertime's just green. And,
right. Well, since we started talking about the nature and the place about Mongolia, let's take a look at one package we prepared about Garrett's memories in Mongolia.
used to come to the spot several times with my children. In the wintertime, it completely freezes over, and it's a popular spot for recreation in the winter. I remember bringing my kids down, and we were sledding on sleds on the ice, and my oldest girl, had ice skates. So it has a lot of memories to me, but I prefer it in the summertime or times like this when the water's flowing. I don't know what it is. There's just something about the sound of water, whether it be crashing waves or whether it be the sound of a flowing river like this. It just has a calming effect. It's ironic because we're in the middle of a city, of 1.5 million of Ulaanbaatar, yet there are places like this where you can find where you have a little bit of peace, a little bit of serenity. One of the things I like about Mongolia is being close to nature, but not in nature. I still have the benefits of the comforts of a city life. I come from a place in the United States where beautiful nature. It's got mountains and hills and deserts and lakes in and around the area of Salt Lake City. And being in Mongolia lacks nothing in terms of the beauties of nature. You just got to know where to find it. And one of the reasons why I like being here and being close to nature, close to rivers, close to mountains, and it heals the soul for sure.
Through our talk show, we will bring you entertaining personal talks with certain individuals. These individuals will be divided in two categories. Number 1 is I Am Mongolian. In this category, guests will be proud Mongolians who have stories to tell to the world. Number 2 is I Love Mongolia. Through these talks, we will introduce expats and non-Mongolians who are related to Mongolia one way or another. Heartfelt stories of their love affair with Mongolia, the land of blue sky. Well, okay, Tall River and Tall River Basin. So, how about people? I mean, was there, when you came first here in Mongolia, was there any person, anyone who touched your heart and really stayed there for forever and ever?
I can recall my first trip here when I was a missionary, meeting with a family. They captured my heart. The father struggled with alcoholism, but his wife and his daughter in particular really wanted him to sober up and to, be a man. So just to make it clear, you came to that family and stayed with them? No, I was as a volunteer and missionary. We were working with that family, teaching them, and he needed some help to quit the habit, and so obviously with a lot of encouragement, we helped him to get off of alcohol.
Really?
Although it was a unique situation. I left. Right before I left, he was still in the middle of the struggle and the battle, and it was heartbreaking at times because I remember I came to his house once to visit him for a lesson, and I showed up and he was drunk. His wife was there, his daughter was there, and they were rather ashamed and embarrassed. Sorry, our father's like this. It's kind of awkward situation, and it was going to be the last time I was going to teach him and see him before I came back to the States in 2000. And I thought, how can I help this guy? What can I do? And I looked down at my finger, and I was wearing a ring. It was a ring given to me by a friend before I had left on my mission, just as a memorial, as a little soup.
From your friend?
Yeah, my friend in the States.
Not a lover?
No.
Okay.
And I took that ring off, and I asked him, his name was Badzer, and I asked Badzer,
Badzer?
Right. I says, what hand do you use to drink? And he showed me which hand. and I put the ring on his finger, and it fit. And he says, you're gonna see that ring in your line of sight every time you raise your hand to your mouth to drink. And he says, even though I'm gonna leave, this is our last time meeting, use this ring as a reminder of your commitment to your family, of your commitment to your wife, your kids, me, that you were gonna quit. And hopefully this ring will be a reminder to you. Well, that was the last time I ever talked to him.
So you gave the ring to him?
I gave him the ring. Yeah, just as a little token, as a reminder of his promise. A year later, I was back in university studying, and I received a letter in the post, in the mail. Email still hadn't gotten popular. This was year 2000. Well, I returned in 2000, so I received a letter in 2001.
2001.
And I opened up the letter, and it was a picture of Badzer holding that ring. Wow. And he had a note, and he told me about how that ring helped him to quit, and helped him to get off alcohol, and helped him to be an honorable husband to his wife, and to be able to hold a job and provide for his family.
After only 1 year?
You know, I think we're all addicted to something. It might be candy, it might be cigarettes, it might be alcohol, it might be pornography, it might be betting, there's a lot of ills in life, and I think we all have bad habits. And for him, that bad habit was destroying his family, and it was preventing him to be able to have a good job. And because of that, you know, he was able to get his life back together, and I'm not going to take credit for that.
Are you still in touch with him?
Occasionally. He came and visited me just a couple years ago. And he's still a wonderful man, and I'm in touch, you know, through social media and whatnot. We'll exchange messages with his daughter and his son occasionally, and they're great. They're great people.
What is your life philosophy? If it comes down to one sentence, what would you say?
I would say everyone with whom you come in contact with knows something you don't know. So you must respect them. Everyone. And so I think having respect for other people, having respect for yourself, having respect for people regardless of their nationality or their age, their affiliation. This tribalism in modern society has caused a lot of bitterness, caused a lot of wars, caused a lot of suffering.
Well, it sounds like you are a very spiritual person. Do you meditate?
I meditate in my own form. It's perhaps different than the meditation that I think a lot of traditional Buddhists would think. For me, it's more, I'm very internal. I'm a very solitary person.
Solitary.
I you know, do a lot of things alone in my head. I'm not exactly a social butterfly, I guess.
So you like to be alone and, you know, be with yourself.
I mean, I enjoy getting together with friends, but I can be at peace most either when I'm alone with my thoughts or in a one-on-one setting where we're just talking about philosophy, ideas. I abhor gossip. It really interests me zero to talk about other people and their problems, or unless it's from the standpoint of helping them.
Well, let's talk about your family.
Sure.
You have a very interesting family. You have 4 kids, and you got married to a Mongolian woman.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I got married, it's been 16 years now. I was a young college student at the time. Unfortunately, we're not together anymore. We're divorced now.
You're separate, okay.
But from our relationship, the most beautiful thing was our 4 children.
4 children.
That resulted from that relationship.
How many girls and boys?
My oldest is a boy.
Okay.
And I have 3 3 girls.
3 girls.
And so obviously they're...
Where are they now?
They were here for the first 5 years in Mongolia, and then for the past year and a half, 2 years, they've been living with their mother in the States, going to school in America.
So these intercultural families and households are very interesting. So how do you guys manage, and how do you guys balance out these 2 different philosophies, two different cultural affections and societies? What's the most challenging thing? How do you manage it?
Oh, I wouldn't say the culture difference was the most challenging, because for me, it's not my cultural or national identity that defines me. It's more about my thoughts, my actions, and my attitudes. And so as long as those are compatible, I think people can have successful, healthy relationships with someone of any nationality or background or culture.
But okay. Let's say, I mean, you don't agree with it. Let's say either you agree or not. There are cultural aspects. You're an American. You grew up in America. Your wife grew up in Mongolia. Totally different. How do you raise your children with the balanced, how do you balance those out? Was there misunderstanding sometimes?
For example, you have to decide, even before you become a parent, or in the early days soon after becoming a parent, of how are we going to, what language are we going to speak?
Oh yeah, what language?
What's what's the dress, what the holidays are going to
holidays,
be, education,
these are all the interesting stuff.
Raising kids, do we raise our kids with a strict, firm hand where we occasionally use what we call corporal punishment, or
spanking,
or do we take a different approach? Things like that. I think any young couple needs to be on the same page. And so
I suppose you guys had discussed and agreed on at some stuff before you have the baby, or does it just happen?
It just happens. It's just.
I think so, right?
It's just you're learning it's on-the-job training.
Well, Garrett is executive director at Wagner Asia Automotive, and let's show you one package about how this executive director starts his day.
For the past 20 plus years, I've started every morning with exercises before I take a shower, and then I have a little bite to eat for breakfast, and then I start my day. So that's how I start every day for the past 20 plus years. So every day, I believe breakfast is important, so try and have a little bit of honey tea, yogurt with oats or oatmeal, occasionally some eggs with toast. This morning I'm starting off with a little oatmeal. Usually when I eat, I catch up on the news for the day. But I usually don't spend a lot of time eating breakfast. Have a quick light breakfast like this, and then usually got to head out on the road so I can beat traffic to get to work on time. If I don't leave the house by 7:30, the Zeisen Bridge gets congested and I get stuck in traffic. So try and leave on time. Today I've got a lot of important meetings, a few important meetings. Got to open up an account with the bank, and then in the evening have a reception. But if it all goes to plan, it'll be a productive day. I come to work each day, try and keep a positive attitude. With all the traffic, it's hard to do that sometimes, and so often when I come to work to settle down, to clear my thoughts, I'll take care of my plants. I'll water my plants, I'll trim them, and that helps kind of clear my mind before I sit down, and then I write down my task for the day. I'm kind of old school in that regard. I don't keep an electronic version of my to-do list, whether it be on my notebook or on my phone, but I do it on paper. For me, the old school method just works best.
What kind of company governance did you decide to choose for Wagner Asia Automotive, and why?
Well, I believe I was fortunate to partner up with a company such as Wagner Asia. That was back in 2011 when I first started with them.
7 years ago.
Yeah. Wagner Asia, they're based in the United States, in Denver, Colorado. A principal company, family-owned company, but they've grown rather large. And in the United States, and they also have the overseas operation here in Mongolia under Wagner Asia. I have nothing but respect and admiration for my employer Wagner Asia, because they've given me a great opportunity, and I like the culture of the company. It's a culture of accountability, but also one of respect and a great awareness of social responsibility. And for, we're here not just to make money. A company that makes nothing but money, I think, is kind of a worthless company.
It's being outdated.
Yeah.
In today's society.
Yeah, I mean, so I pride myself more in our ability to stay profitable, so we can be sustainable, and so we can continue to provide stable jobs. Going home at night knowing that perhaps my decisions as an executive helped to create a safe environment where these employees, these people, will continue to have stable employment, or they'll be able to provide for their families. They'll be able to have medical insurance to take care of their physical and health and mental needs, and so from that standpoint, having worked for Wagner Asia for the past 7 years has been a huge benefit and contributed to my experience, and as I move on to the next adventure, be able to use those experiences to help me make better decisions going forward, and to lead a responsible company that gives back to the community.
When you go to United States, you are coming back and forth, right? So
when
you go back to United States, you become introvert, and then when you come back to Mongolia, you become talkative, as we are talking now.
Yeah.
Why do you think is that? Did you find the reason and cause of that?
Number one, I'd have to point is to I guess it's an unspoken emotional connection, a connection on a level that
again, spiritual connection.
Yeah, perhaps. If you believe in reincarnation, some people say maybe you were a Mongolian in your previous life. I don't think so. But no, it's. I do find it. Mongolian people are very warm and friendly to me, and I don't. It's not just about breaking the ice, and then getting on someone's inner layer. For me, Mongolian people are very warm and friendly from the beginning, and so it doesn't take much to break through that ice. A lot of that has to do, to be honest, is the language. To be able to speak in Mongolian, people, they respect that. They respect because they understand that it's taken a lot of time and many years, and in order to acquire Mongolian language speaking abilities. So not having a language barrier goes a long way to help me develop relationships.
But you don't have language barrier in the United States. Why become introvert?
I don't know. Maybe I don't fit in, or no. I don't know what it is. It's hard to articulate, but I can't say that I'm completely socially awkward in America. But it's harder to me. It's harder for me to approach strangers. It's harder to me to have warm, friendly, deep conversations with someone that I've just met back in America. Whereas in Mongolia, I can sit down over...
Maybe you got too used to Mongolian society and Mongolian way of living, maybe.
Perhaps. Well, it's a different type of attitude, I think, here, and people become interested in me. Although I'm not foreigners are very common in Mongolia. I'm not certainly unique in the fact that I'm an expatriate living here. There's a lot of us here, and there's several of us that speak Mongolian. So I'm not unique in that regard either. But people, for some reason, they're friendly, and that draws me.
Okay. Well, let's put it that way. It's spiritual connection.
Sure. Sure.
Okay. My last question.
Okay.
The last question of MNB World Talk Show. Why do you love Mongolia?
In a word,
do you love Mongolia?
Oh yeah,
you love Mongolia, don't you?
But what do I love? What is it about Mongolia?
What do you love about Mongolia? Let's mention three things. It's a big subject. So.
Well, I'd have to. Number one is the people. That's the big draw. I care about the people, and so I yearn for a better life for them. Okay. I can see so many of their problems, and the solutions, while implementing the solutions may not be easy, the solutions are pretty clear. And I want to be an influence, albeit I'm just one person and my influence may be small. I want to help change it and help society move in the right direction. So that's why I like being here. It's an adventure. It's like the wild west back in the early days of my country in America, when the East Coast was settled and established and civilized, and the West was rather unruly and just establishing. Mongolia is it's a frontier market. And
so you look at it as an adventure to
for sure
live in here, to be able to influence and come up with solutions.
Yeah.
To problems.
What would have been like to 50 years ago in Singapore to lay a foundation of what is now a very successful market? Mongolia has so much potential, not only in human capital, but in natural resources, in the land, the minerals. I'm very optimistic about the future of Mongolia. It will succeed. The society will be a force to reckon with. The mind, the intellectual capacity of Mongolians is strong as an individual. They're genius Mongolians who have studied at some of the world's best universities and proven how smart and how intellectually capable Mongolians are individually. What we have yet to see is them use that intellectual capital united as a group, as a government, in
anything.
Yeah, and so, but that's. It's still young. Come on, this democracy, this free market economy is not even 30 years old yet. So we're still laying the foundations. And so it's that newness, that frontier market, that's what's attractive about Mongolia to me.
Okay. Well, thanks very much, Garrett.
Sure.
Pleasure meeting you.
It was nice meeting you too. Thanks for the invitation.
And as Mongolians say, wish you good health and good luck with everything. See you next time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invitation.
All right.